thank you.
Summer, 1975. A nightmare awaits me. I am being recalled to DEV.TEAM headquarters. Do I have to go back to the hell again?
Oh, thank you.
Summer, 1975. A nightmare awaits me. I am being recalled to DEV.TEAM headquarters. Do I have to go back to the hell again?
Oh, thank you.
Summer, 1975. A nightmare awaits me. I am being recalled to DEV.TEAM headquarters. Do I have to go back to the hell again?
Oh, thank you.
Summer.
Name phase.
Good evening, everybody. I've decided to do part 2 of my Just June streams, focusing on the Neo-Geo this time, or the Neo-Geo family, not just the Neo-Geo MVS Arcade, but the Neo-Geo CD, the Neo-Geo Pocket, and other, the Neo-Geo family, as I'll call them, and maybe one or two things that are closely enough related for me to still want to cover. So, what I've got running at the moment in the bottom corner is the Neo-Geo CD version of NAME 1975, which was it was the launch title for the actual Neo-Geo MVS hardware. But one thing that I always found odd with the MVS release is it has no attract mode. If you leave the game running, it just cycles the title loop over and over again. It never shows any gameplay. Yet, oddly enough, the CD version does actually show demo gameplay when you're not playing it. So that would suggest to me that the CD version is actually a later build where they've added that feature to the game when it was missing from the initial release, maybe due to time constraints, I don't know. It's very strange for an arcade, because with an arcade game, you really want your arcade to be promoting itself to the player, especially with a new piece of hardware. And when you can't see any gameplay, then that's not ideal. But anyway, welcome to everybody in the chat. I see there's quite a few already here. Cow has been talking, Bob has been talking. All good to see you. The Ogre's here. And, you know, some regulars. We've got, who else we got? We've got Mick, and we've got Mo, and so, yes, quite a few of the regulars here already. Nice and early, good to see you all. I hope you've been doing well yourself. Have we got a day from Bob yet, or not? I don't know what, I mean, what day? Apart from being Monday, didn't just have to look that up, Monday, I don't actually know what's special about today. But let's turn the volume back up to about there, I'd say. Let's change my view over to horizontal, and let's full screen it. Now, everything is good at this point, I hope. So let's press the start button. Now, as I said, this was on the MVS version of this. MVS version of this was a release title. I don't know if it was the first CD game or not. I don't really know what the order of the CD releases. But like I said, I'm starting with the CD version of this just to show that it has that attract mode. Now, I'm assuming the missing attract mode is not just some kind of NeoGeo emulation bug in MAME. That would be a bit of a stretch. And I'm also assuming there isn't an MVS version out there with the attract mode. Although I think if there was, it would have been found by now. So yeah. Now, obviously, being a CD game, I'm pretty sure you get CD music here. A bit quiet, but maybe the volume balance could be adjusted on the CD driver. I don't know. This is one of those crosshair shooters. We looked at a few of these when talking about Cabal and the likes in the last stream, I think. Was it? Previous stream? So, this is one of those. Although this one is from 1990, so this is after Cabal. And it doesn't really feature the rolling mechanic. It features a running mechanic instead, so you can dash past things. And you've got grenades as usual. So, how is everybody then? You're doing well? Is it as warm where you are as it is here? I mean, we've had some sweltering days for British temperatures where people have been going out in the sun, having barbecues. It's not been bad actually, not been bad at all. Although, like I said, it's not been great for the motivation. It's been a little bit tricky to actually get anything done. Because we are not used to the heat here, I'll tell you that much. Oh, happy birthday, Liam Neeson. That is a name I recognise from a good few movies. So thank you Bob for the random daily fact. I don't know if there are any games with Liam Neeson in. There are definitely not going to be any Neo-Geo ones because NeoGeo generally doesn't have much in the way of licensed characters. It's not like the consoles. Yes, let's just destroy things. And unlike, say, Cabal, this one actually has scrolling, so you know, that's sort of the innovation with this one. Whereas Cabal and the likes are just single screen crosshair shooters, this one scrolls. So you'll notice that. I don't know if that makes it a slightly different genre, but we can talk about specifics at another time. Phantom Menace games would have them in. Yeah, there aren't any Neo Geo Phantom Menace games, not even Neo Geo Star Wars games. I'm actually going to... Operations have been watched. That's kind of creepy. That's even more creepy. It's also Tom Jones' birthday. Ah. Let's just change the keys. Oop. And lose my life in the process. But It's a, now these bosses. This is actually really well animated. I mean, this is actually, I think for an early Neo Geo title, the first Neo Geo title, this is actually really impressive. You know, it's well animated. The sprites aren't huge, but that's not necessarily something that many games had at the time anyway. I mean, we weren't at the stage of huge sprites and everything yet. So just having such well animated, drawn characters, a fair amount of variety, not too much, and nice and smooth. Really, I mean, it did help sell things like the Neo Geo. I'm sure it helped appeal to players before some of the other games came out. You know, the bigger titles, the ones people remember. It's a solid little shooter. I don't know exactly what's unique to the CD version.
We've been sighted. We'll abandon boat and go through Building City. Over. How do they know our plan?
I think I know the regular version does have the same text on the screen in the intro, but I can't remember if it has the rest of the content. So it definitely doesn't have the attract mode, the game demo, whereas this one does. So that's why the Neo CD versions are sometimes interesting, along with the AES version. Sometimes, if they did use a different ROM, sometimes you get a later revision of the game, which fixes things. And sometimes those will be re-released as cartridges, as later revisions, sometimes rarer revisions. You know, reissues, the second issue of the game sometimes would have that same ROM. The Magician Lord, for example, the AES release was the initial one with the story. Although that has also been seen on bootleg MVS cartridges. And we might look at 1 or 2 other examples of that during the stream, actually, because some of the ones I've picked out do sort of follow that theme of changed releases. Hey Ultar, thank you for joining, and hey Christian, thank you for joining. I hope you're both doing well. Cloudy Buenos Aires. I would have expected it to be sunny, but then again, I don't know. Different times, different seasons. I don't know. Slightly on the other side of the world. Yeah, this is Vietnam cow, and so far there haven't been any cows that I've noted. Just lots of metal things. So apparently Vietnam's cow population is not well represented in this game. I have noticed a little bit of tearing in this game, but I think that's just how the game is. I don't think that's an emulation flaw. It's quite odd to see vertical tears rather than horizontal, but it's clearly not able to update the sprite list quite in time. I've got power-ups. Yeah, how long have we been going? We've gone 13 minutes, and about 10 of those have been playing this. So we'll play this for another 5 minutes or so. Or unless I run out continues, which I may well do, because I don't think you have infinite continues on a Neo CD. Well, you can roll when pressing down, can't you? Yeah, I keep forgetting you can actually roll as well. So you do have your roll, but by default it's a run. There you go, you see. How's the weather? The weather is very warm, Christian. I had the windows open most of the day, which means there's a bunch of bugs and things in here now, which I'm never happy with, but you see me waving my hands in the air at things, that the wee why. Last Resort is known to have a lot of slowdown on hardware auto, so I don't, maybe Final Burn's just overclocking it by default, I'm not sure. Because one of the big complaints with the actual Last Resort game is that at some point in development between an earlier prototype and the final game, something went really bad with the performance and the actual development process. So I'd say if MAME runs it quite slowly, that's probably accurate. Hey Costado, thank you for joining, I hope you're doing well. I mean, you can always overclock Last Resort if you want to in MAME, and get it running faster. But if it's faster by default in Final Burn, maybe that's what they're doing, because it's definitely not meant to be a fast game.
Information from headquarters. New strategy.
In case somebody mislaid their helicopter, yes. Good. Oh, and today's cup is a Psycho Juice cup, which I got from buying more hot sauce. Not hot sauce that I'm going to be drinking on stream. Although they did give me a free bottle of the actual Psycho Juice sauce when I ordered, which was quite nice of them. Wasn't expecting it. Anyway, so that was NAME 1975 for the Neo CD. Right, next I'm going to look at one of the ones I had pictured, which is actually technically marked as not working in MAME. But you can sort of play it. Now, what really surprises me is that so many people are hacking up NeoGeo games and all sorts of ridiculous stuff, but nobody seems to have bothered to look at this bug or tried to fix this in the sort of 10 or so years it's been in MAME. And that's a shame. I mean, I would have thought... it's disheartening, because you would have thought with that many people studying a system, somebody would have looked at it, but apparently not. Anyway, this is Super Bubble Pop, which is one of the 2004 unlicensed NeoGeo games, but you could buy it for your NeoGeo. You could buy a cartridge. So much like, you know, the NG DEV.TEAM games, it was released for real hardware. It's a puzzle game. But the main issue is, if you try and play it, I'm going to start a two-player game, because if you try and play it, as soon as you get to this screen, none of your controls work. This is why it's marked as not working. Now, there's clearly some kind of protection, because it needs a little workaround to boot in the first place. So this is probably a protection issue, unless it's just some odd case of them reading the inputs in a strange way that's not compatible with the way MAME does things. But yeah, the controls don't work on this screen. So your controls don't work here either. So basically you can't do anything. So I'm going to press insert to fast forward through it. So you see, we'll do this. Game over. Yeah, this costs a lot of money, this one. But then, you know, there's still no working inputs. However, as you'll see in a moment, with the grooving poppers there. But yeah, these unlicensed games tend to be very expensive for what they were. Once you get to player 2, player 2's controls work fine. So this is about matching pieces and building towers to get those things down so you can collect them and clear the levels. So it's a pre-rendered puzzle game with a bit of perspective going on, and it's sort of got 3D-ish mechanics to the gameplay. It can be a little tricky to see what you're doing sometimes because of that, but that's just you know how this game's designed. So I'm trying to get these level tokens, the extra time tokens, and get a level token from that one and probably that one. Yeah, there's another level token. And I imagine if there's protection issues, it'll do the same for Stardo. It'd be interesting to know if it does or doesn't. But I think we probably need a protection patch for the game. We'll work out what the protection is swapping, because I think it's probably overlaying a little bit of ROM code or something. Or I'm not entirely sure. If it does turn out to be an emulation bug with the input reading, that'd be interesting. But I can't really see how it could be. So I think it's just protection. But given the game works for player 2, I don't imagine it's going to be the most complex protection, which again is why I'm surprised nobody's really looked into it. Or at least nobody's publicly reported anything with it. You see, it is a unique puzzle game. There aren't many puzzle games that do this whole 3D thing. Oh, I missed the power. So in that sense, it'd be quite nice if it worked properly for player 1 too. No, I mean, I don't think most people have ever really played this, because I don't think it's widely known that you can play it if you select, you know, just let player 1 die and then use player 2. It's not the most natural thing to consider doing, I have to say. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this stream was to, you know, show things like this. Because, again, I don't think many people are going to be aware of this little bit of trivia we've got going on. So, what do we need to do here? So you can fire those at the rock and well, not the rock, but yeah. The rock doesn't want things fired at them. But yeah, wherever your pieces go, they build up towers, which isn't a mechanic I remember seeing anywhere else. And you can line things up sideways like that. You don't have to pile them up, although piling them up is one way of doing it. So you've got matches in multiple directions. After this stream gets 100k views, it will be widely known. I don't think I'm going to get any streams with that many views. I think that silly popcorn shop video is probably the closest. And that's just the track mode of Sonic Popcorn Shop running. So maybe that's the secret. Maybe I just have to feature Sonic Popcorn Shop and order some curry popcorn in one of my streams. And then see if I can get some curry popcorn and pretend it actually gave me curry popcorn. I don't know what curry popcorn would be like. I mean, the things on their own are quite nice. Curry, yeah. Popcorn, yeah. Curry popcorn. As you see, it's getting quite busy now. But I'm not always a fan of pre-rendered graphics. I do kind of like what they've done here. It's very simple art. And obviously it's not going to win any awards. But it does work for, you know, what it's meant to be. But I'm struggling here. No. Okay, there you go, you see. Game over. I failed. Most of the 100k will be you watching the video. Just don't tell YouTube, Bob. Yeah, I can continue as player 2. The controls for player 2 still do work on the menu. So I'll do that. I'll see if I can do it any better this time. I don't know how far it's sent me back. Again, I don't know if there are any original hardware videos of this one running. It's quite an obscure game that only collectors would have bought, I imagine. Because, as I say, these things tend to be expensive. It would be nice to see some more of these unlicensed games dumped at some point, because there are a bunch more. And I think the later ones even used their own protection and had USB updating and things like that, so I do worry that the original revisions of some of them are going to get lost because people have updated them and the original revisions won't be saved anywhere. You know, some of them are, I think some of them are like 10 years old at this point, maybe a bit more, and very few of them are dumped. And you do have to consider them as legitimate commercial software from back in the day, even if SNK didn't license them. No, I don't know if we're going to stick with the theme of unlicensed games with the next one. Actually, I think I might do, just because that's an area that often gets overlooked. And you can see plenty of best of NeoGeo videos where only the official releases get covered. There are tons of them on YouTube. I'm going to fail again, I think. Yeah, I'm going to fail again. Or you rewatching to get the timestamps. Yes, the ogre, absolutely. I mean, that is definitely where all my views are going to be coming from. Right back here. I mean, I'm not complaining. That's perfectly okay with me. If everybody here wants to rewatch the stream 1,000 times, again, just don't tell YouTube. Because they'll probably think it's a scam. And I'm not sure I want to be known as MAME Hayes the scammer. It doesn't really have a very good ring to it. So, what am I doing? Apart from failing badly. Oh, don't do that. How to fail. Or not. But yeah, I mean, I can see why people might not find this to be the most thrilling game in the world to watch, because puzzle games tend not to be. But to play, it's actually quite an enjoyable one. and I was surprised because I thought this was just going to be basically shovelware, but I've had fun with it. Although I've messed up here, I think. Task failed successfully. Hey Foxhat, thank you for joining. I think it's just because it's pre-rendered. I mean, it works for what it's trying to do, but yeah, it's pre-rendered 3D using the NeoGeo's kind of limited palette hardware. So it's never going to look too good because the NeoGeo is not really built for doing pre-rendered stuff. But yeah, this is a bit of Super Bubble Pop. I think we'll move on from Super Bubble Pop, and yeah, we'll go to another one of the unlicensed ones actually. Now, Last Hope is the only of the Neo-Geo NG DEV.TEAM games that is dumped, and it is their first game. Now, this is actually also in MAME as a base set, as an arcade cartridge, because some bootleggers did copy this onto an arcade cartridge, but the arcade version is not modified. It doesn't have credits, it just boots to the same menu, so it's more of a novelty for people who want it on an MVS cart rather than anything you're going to play. Now, this game wasn't especially well received at first. I mean, one of the issues is it's very difficult to tell what you're meant to be avoiding because the bullets are the same colour as the explosions. And that's sort of almost an unforgivable mistake. It's just Neo-Geo. So once you've worked out what's explosion and what's bullet, you might get that's bullet. And it's also, I didn't even see what I flashed for. So yeah, when this is your first impression of a game, hey Marcelo, thank you for joining. This isn't very good, is it? Honestly, if I don't shoot, I might be better. The shoot 'em up way is easier to play if you don't shoot because there aren't explosions everywhere. Look, look. Except now it's not easy because there's a snake that's going to kill me. I got a bit further by not shooting anything. Hey Ethel, thank you for joining. Oh, Ethel. I hope you're doing well. I've not played a game worse than this since Final Lap. The power up on the right side of that thing this time. I mean, it feels like it should be good. There's some really nice artwork in it, but it's let down by some very poor design decisions. At least, you know, I'm at this checkpoint now, so we can continue. The Neo-Geo couldn't really do 3D, no, Ethel. You did hear Final Lap, yes, Cal. I was saying I have not played a game as badly since the aforementioned Final Lap. Now also, you see things like the score counter up there. The font on it is so small that on a CRT, you're going to struggle to read that. Okay. You don't have anywhere near enough invulnerability at the start of a life. You're just getting your bearings and you die again. Things pop out. It's just a case of learning. But then you've got these beautiful animated backgrounds. Actually a really good soundtrack. Then you've got things in the background you think you should be able to shoot, like that guy there, but he's in the background, you can't shoot him. Yeah, the Neo-Geo processors are a fair bit better than the SNES. Wolfaz. I also hate Wolfaz, thank you for joining. I think I missed you when you joined, or forgot to say hello. But yeah, the SNES isn't known for its processing power. I mean, the Neo-Geo is not especially, but the NeoGeo video hardware is just capable of shifting so many sprites around. They just load up the memory and start moving stuff. You know, it can handle massive floating tile map or sprite lists, act like tile maps. So, we are not getting very far in this game. Where's safe? It was here safe. Yeah, you crash into that. No. I'm using the level as a barrier in this case. Now we're back to bullets I can't see. It's nice and fast and smooth and responsive. Again, right back to this checkpoint. The checkpoints are harsh. Yeah, I mean, the problem is, this is the only NG Dev Team game I've played. So this sort of sets my expectation level for the rest of them. I don't know if that's fair or not, though, because maybe they improved as developers after this, but, you know, the others aren't emulated, so I can't comment on them. I think that's just a case of avoid that and everything fires at you. Now, have I made... Still at the same checkpoint. I mean, I suppose you could have put an extra chip in the NeoGeo cartridges to render tiles to where the tile one would be and have RAM there instead, but that never happened. But no, I mean, the NeoGeo can't even do transparency effects or anything. They all have to be fake. It doesn't have built-in line scroll. It doesn't have any kind of rotation. It's just good at pushing a huge number of sprites around. That is its strength. Yeah, Donkey Kong was pre-rendered. I mean, we'll look at some of the pre-rendered stuff in a bit. I want to play Viewpoint, and that's pre-rendered isometric 3D. And we did just look at Super Bubble Pop, but say that was an unlicensed game. Right, so are you all bored of seeing this part of the level yet? We'll play it a little bit longer. Because there's a lot to this game. This is the problem. There's a fair amount of content. There's far more levels than this. But I think most people aren't going to have seen them because they'll have just done what I'm doing, and you know, you're taken out by fast bullets they can't see, cornered, trapped into a corner. Thank you for replying in the chat, MAME fan. It is easier if somebody does explain it in the chat rather than me trying to explain it on stream. I like the bullets they're firing at me there, but again, I'm going to go back to the same checkpoint. Anyway, since we are basically going to be playing the same game next, that was the AES release of Last Hope. Last Hope was also released on the Neo-Geo CD. Yeah, every system has its strengths and weaknesses. I mean, personally, I think Donkey Kong Country looked awful even at the time, but a lot of people really liked it, so it's you know, a matter of opinion. The Neo-Geo doesn't really have a great palette depth for doing pre-rendered sprites either, and only has 4-bit 16-color tiles, 4 BPP. Although I don't think the SNES really has any advantages in that sense. So this is the same game for the Neo-Geo CD. Except it's not quite the same game. Yeah, more modes. So you get slow bullets, a stronger weapon. You can start at the start. There we go. So you can, you can start on 1, 2, or 3. So you get to see more of the game, even if you're not good at it. Pardon me. So get better shots. Also, there's less debris going on. The explosions are smaller on the enemies, so it's easier to see. And the bullets are pink. So again, the bullets are not the same colour as the explosions. The bullets still go behind the explosions, which is still a terrible way to design things. But when they're not hidden by an explosion, you can now see them because they're not the same colour as an explosion. So the Neo CD version is immediately more accessible. I still got hit. I say that I still get hit by a bullet. I still die and go back to this checkpoint. Also, you've got CDs to sound. Yeah, if you have a game that spawns enemies like that, there really needs to be a warning sign on the screen before they appear. Although, the pink bullets here on the CD version make a huge difference to the gameplay, just that alone. And the fact they don't fire as many, the fact the explosions are smaller and get less in the way. Because, I said the explosions go over the bullets, but when the explosions were as big as they were before, that was a major problem. Now it's just an annoyance. Yeah, it's it does scream inexperience, but again, this was the first Neo-Geo DEV.TEAM game. At least this version is somewhat enjoyable. The other version is just horrible, and I think people might have overlooked this version, thinking it's just going to be identical to the AES version that's also in MAME as the bootleg cartridge. But this version is closer to being a playable game. You can see more of it, you can play more of it, you can, I would say, enjoy it. So, still not clear what you can kill and what you can't. You can't kill that snake thing as far as I know. You can just try to. And again, I got killed by something I wasn't sure what was. But this was also released on the Dreamcast, by the way. I don't know if the Dreamcast version is better or worse in any significant way. I've not really got into Dreamcast emulation at all, and I didn't play it on the original Dreamcast I had, which has died some years ago. There we go. Oh dear. I'm still struggling on this checkpoint. Yeah, even then, I mean, there's not much in the palette there. If you compare to things that have proper sort of 24-bit palettes like these Psycho hardware, the Neo-Geo looks very poor. The Mega Drive palette hardware was even worse. The Mega Drive palette hardware was really bad, in fact. Why did I do that? Yeah, it's not always clear what you can. I mean, let's see. That guy looks like you should be able to shoot him, but you can't. Very heavy on the memorization. I mean, I know it's trying to be Pulsar or R-Type, an R-Type clone, and that is also heavy on memorization. But I think this takes it a little too far. The point, a lot of it does just feel like bad design. Crash into the scenery. Also, don't do that. Also, it would have really been better if the checkpoints had been kinder. But yeah, if you want to play a version in MAME, though, do play the CD version. It is, and I'm not feeling the game is as to blame this time. When I was playing the regular release, I just felt the game's broken. In this case, I just feel like I'm not very good at playing it, and that's a big difference. From somebody who likes Final Lap. Yeah, Final Lap is definitely my favourite game ever. Also, there's no bomb attack, at least not that I'm aware of. So, I do want to get to the next checkpoint at least, and then show some other levels. And then we'll probably move on to something else. Okay, let's not continue. Let's just show some other levels, because otherwise we might be here a while. Best surviving time, 46 seconds. Okay. So action mode, we can select stage 2. So you at least get to see some more of the game. Creepy waters. We've got a nice water effect, but that's actually a really nice visual effect. You get the wavy effect under the water, and your ship goes green. So again, on a technical level, the visuals in that sense are really good. It's just a lot of them seem to have been designed without any real regard for the gameplay and how they impact the gameplay. And again, I'm dying not really sure what hit me then. So, you get the idea. Yeah, it's not got momentum on the controls, but there's just so many questionable design choices in this one. You want to like it, you want to like it because the visuals are really, really good. But the playability, even when you're hovering above the water, look at that nice little effect on the water there. Anyway, we'll look at the third level in a bit, and then we'll move on, because I'm not going to get anywhere on this. This is the same thing that happened last time I tried to play this game. It doesn't agree with me. I mean, this version is more enjoyable. I did better last time I played it, but that was quite a few years ago now. You bought this for the Dreamcast. How does the Dreamcast version play Custado? Is it just like this? So, the third level. Off to a great start. Again, the bullets are being covered up by the explosions. So you can create loads of explosions and you don't know where the bullets are, and then you're in trouble. And everything's starting to take too many hit and lasers that kill you instantly. Yeah, I know you've got a laser. Go away. Yeah, loading things on the Spectrum can be quite difficult, Marcelo. You have to go into like 48K basic or use the scroll lock to sit on and off the interface and things like that. I'll try and do some kind of little tutorial at some point. But anyway, yeah, Last Hope. There's a good game buried in there somewhere, but it needed a lot of. I think it needed somebody just to work with the team and go, that's a bad idea. Something as simple as the bullets not going underneath the explosions would make it such a more enjoyable game. Warning signs when things are about to appear. There's so many obvious things that could have been better with that game, and it's a shame. Let's go for another ridiculously difficult shooter. Let's go for Viewpoint. Yeah, the water level was really pretty, actually. And I've not played that much of R-Type 2. I played more of R-Type 1. I think that's the same for most people. But here we go. Nice little Sammy raster effect on this one. This got a port to the Mega Drive of all things, and the X68K, which apparently is quite slow. But this is, again, pre-rendered 3D. With a pretty good soundtrack for a different soundtrack. And it's an isometric perspective. You've got your... That's the way to start a tune. And kick a game off. Now left and right do actually move you left and right across the screen, not diagonally. So if you want to move diagonally, you do have to hold diagonals, which actually controls better than ones that have forced diagonal controls. This is very much a horizontal shooter twisted to be isometric. It's got your puzzle elements from a horizontal shooter. This is based. If they called this R-Type isometric, then I think people would have sort of accepted that. See, so you've got to open the gates by firing at them. You've got to open the next gate by firing at it. Is CPS 1 better than NeoGeo? At some things it's better than NeoGeo, other things it's worse. I mean, it's got a better resolution. It can't handle anywhere near as many sprites, but it's got tile maps. It's got built-in row scroll, row select type features for fancy effects. It's just different. It doesn't have the same ROM capacity, so you can't have as many graphics. The strengths of every system and weaknesses of every system. Yeah, R-Type meets Zaxxon. Without it being Zaxxon Mother Base 2000 for the 32X, which was just kind of an even worse hybrid. Also, it's got a little bit of a Xevious vibe to it. I think it's because of the nature of some of the enemies. These flipping platforms are very Xevious, even though in Xevious the flipping platforms are flying enemies. I think this is executed superbly. Slinky enemies. And I played other isometric shooters, I played isometric shooters even on things like the Spectrum, Highway Patrol, Hate and the like. And I'm never a fan of Zaxxon. The speed of Zaxxon doesn't work. The advantage this game has is the pace. It is well paced for an isometric game. It gives you time to think. You associate this with watching Games Master. I don't remember this being on Games Master, but I was very young when Games Master was on, I guess. I mean, I do remember Games Master as a thing, I just don't remember this from it. There we go. Yeah, Viewpoint's a good one, Costardo. I do really enjoy it. You don't like Polestar, Cav? Yeah, I think MD is 9-bit palette. Well, I remember studying the MD palette obviously when I emulated the Mega Drive, and also for other reasons. I mean, when I was trying to look at why Back to the Future has such a dark palette on the Mega Drive version, it just seems like they're writing the palette data incorrectly. And we've got level 2, which, just like in Last Hope, is a watery level. If you ask me, this is actually one of the best NeoGeo games. I mean, maybe people don't like it because it doesn't really fit in any traditional box for a shooter. But if you just consider it to be a horizontal shooter with a bit of a twist, then I think it works. Yeah, Pull Star again is checkpointed, and if you've not got your power-ups, you may as well just start again. Unfortunately. It's not the only game like that. If you look at the Gradius games, they offend in a very similar way. Yes. It says the letters you enter. That's funny. I mean, that Last Hope wants to be Pull Star, but manages to make itself even more difficult and even more punishing. This is watch the floor. I mean, I think they've used 3D to good effect here because they're doing things that would be trickier without it. Yes, it does, Wolfhouse. I mean, it's all pre-rendered again, as you say. But yeah, the pre-rendering here is actually done really, really well. I think this is some of the best pre-rendering on the system. The thing with these is the explosions still kill you, so you have to avoid the explosions, not just the things you're shooting. I'm keeping out there. That's a tight squeeze. Yeah. Now I'm not going to spend forever on Viewpoint because, again, I think it's one everybody's quite familiar with. I'm probably going to go to NeoGeo Pocket next because why not? I did say NeoGeo family. I'm getting ahead of that wall now. I know what it does. Go on now. I'll continue. Where do I go back to? Back to the start of the level. Yeah, Nightmare in the Dark is one of the good later releases. I don't think it's a very original game, but it's a good game for what it is, yeah. So, but I think I've seen enough of Viewpoint. I'm starting to get a little frustrated with it. But yeah, that's a good one. I do enjoy that one, and I'd recommend Viewpoint as a really good example of a pre-rendered game on the system. So I'm going to go with one that had a huge amount of hype at the time, and that is the Neo Geo Pocket version of Sonic. You know, when you started mixing pre-rendered 3D and 2D, it didn't really look great under. Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog Pocket Adventure. Now, there was a huge amount of hype around this one at the time when it came out, and it's kind of a mix of elements of Sonic to another. But playing it now, the first thing you really notice is the frame rate. Most Sonic games are a solid 60 frames a second. This runs at half of that, which means it feels a little laggy, and the physics aren't quite right. Although, you know, we're talking about a handheld game, so you do have to compare this with sort of the handheld Sonic games for the Game Gear and the like. And I guess if that's, you know, what you're comparing to, it doesn't play too badly. Although you can tell it's not quite the Sonic game you're expecting it to be. Oops. And this is not how you play Sonic. It's just play Sonic like we're meant to play Sonic rather than exploring. Let's play Sonic, gotta go fast. I do find the 8-bit version of Sonic fascinating in general. Just for, you know, how different the Master System versions were compared to the Mega Drive. And, you know, how they work as their own thing. And this definitely also works as its own thing. You can just tell it's not quite what you'd expect from a Sonic game. Yeah, I guess your expectations are different if you've got a mobile, well, a portable game. But, come on, step it up. So you can tell that this is music from Sonic 3, I think. It's the Angel Island music, isn't it? Also, the LCD filter is refreshingly blurry. So that's like a Sonic CD type bit here. So it mixes elements from all the games. That's more what I associate with Sonic CD. Although I think Sonic 3 does a bit of that. Although the physics aren't quite Sonic, so if you're used to controlling Sonic like the other Sonic games, it does take a bit getting used to too. And of course, that's a wall I can break, isn't it? No? I thought it was. I am so out of practice at Sonic. The blur effect is the alcohol. Oh, you've caught me, Bob. Guilty as charged. It's not as bad as the blur on the real hardware, though. At least not as bad as the blur on the Game Gear. I don't know how anybody played Sonic on an actual Game Gear. I tried once back in the blur effect is the filter, Custado. I'm using one of the LCD filters. Yeah, Samari doesn't really fit in the Neo-Geo theme, unfortunately, Wolfhouse, so I can't look at that today. If I ever do a Sonic special, I might have a look at those ones. But this is getting played today because it's Neo-Geo Pocket and the theme is, well, just the Neo-Geo family. And things that are related to the Neo-Geo family, but we'll get to that. Maybe as a bonus. Pardon me? Yeah, so Somari is special. So we've got chemical plant type zone. If you wanted a portable Sonic game when this came out, this was, I think, probably your best option. Even though it feels strange to be playing a Sonic game on an SNK handheld. To this day, it feels like, why does this exist? Of course, do that. Oh, I've already been here. That's good, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the GBA Sonic games, I have to say. They never gelled with me at all. I've tried them again and again. I like this better. The GBA games, the Sonic seems to take up too much of the screen. Whereas this has got quite a small sprite for Sonic, so it kind of works better. This feels more traditional in that sense. It feels more like I'm playing one of the, you know, the proper games, but on a handheld, as opposed to the GBA games, which never felt like proper Sonic. I mean, there are definitely issues with the game. It's not perfect, but, you know, I can enjoy it and play it. And be happy to be playing it. Yeah, and if you've got a fast game, you don't want a tiny viewpoint. You want to be able to see a little bit around you. And this lets you do that. And it gets the whole where Sonic can go on the screen alright too. It's got a little bit of ability to move around. But not too much. So, you know, the screen will catch you depending on your direction. And that's kind of important. It's not quite the proper Sonic camera, but it works well for a handheld version. Yeah, people have said good things about that port, Andrea. It's got a bunch of extra content from what I remember too, hasn't it? Use Street Fighter Alpha 3 on it. Yeah, the real Chemical Plant music, zone music is better than this, yes. Oh, well, apparently I'm going the wrong way. Where am I meant to be going? This way. Excuse my lack of knowledge of the level layout here. This is not the Sonic I'm used to playing. But we'll probably clear this level and a few others. Now we get some water. So you've got a nice proper purple water effect too. Uh-oh. It's called Secret Plant, not Chemical Plant. So they don't want you to know about this one, obviously. Anyway, we'll be moving on after this level, I think. Because, you know, I think people have seen this one. If they haven't, yeah, definitely check out SNK's Sonic port. I got a little bit crushed. Go to your room, Sonic. You let me down. You disappoint me. Sonic was intended to be a rock star. The screen is blurry via filter, yes, Foxhack. I don't know if I changed the settings on the filter to make it more blurry, but the blurriness is a filter. And it's intentional. Right, I did also feature Fatal Fury 1 in the preview window, didn't I? Because I guess you can't do a NeoGeo stream without doing some kind of fighter. So Fatal Fury 1 it is. Now, I actually have really fond memories of Fatal Fury 1 from the Mega Drive. I liked it much, much more than Street Fighter 2. I never got my Street Fighter 2, but I had this one on the Mega Drive and just really enjoyed it. Now, this is, of course, the original King of Fighters from 1991. Before the King of Fighters became an official series with King of Fighters 94, but this is the first one to carry the King of Fighters title in any way. Although the gameplay isn't like King of Fighters, it's just the tournament was called King of Fighters. This has the distinctive Fatal Fury gameplay, where the levels are divided into two planes and you can move backwards and forwards between them, which the how to play tells you. Oh, it doesn't tell you. I thought it did. Now, you've only got your 3 characters in single player mode, so you can choose your first level then. Yes, Fat Fury. This is being angry with fat people, or this is angry fat people. Now, I can't remember any of the controls or anything about this game, so there we go. Yeah, I played a lot of this one on the Mega Drive, as I said. You've got your whole day-night cycle as well, with the different parts of it. How do you change planes? Or is this not one with plane? I don't know. I don't know too much about this. But I just really like the character design. I mean, people might say, you know, that some of them are Street Fighter rip-offs, but they just appeal to me a lot more. Yeah, I used to be okay at this, but it's not as hard as Art of Fighting 2, where I still never seem to get past the first stage. But you've got some environmental things in the game from what I remember. There's some stages where you can use the environment, at least with certain characters. There we go. Michael Max has been defeated. You can't change planes in this stage. That's what I was thinking, which means it's a bad stage to pick to talk about that. But on most stages, you do have that plane mechanic. So I think this Duck King character always appealed to me too. I don't know, I just like the sort of the punk look. I know you lose your cap there too. That's a nice touch. Again, this is quite early on. I mean, this was like 91. 91. So this is right up there, Street Fighter 2 period. There we go. So you've got your front and back planes. As you can see, I move between them. So you can dodge by going onto the back plane. And that kind of is what makes these Fatal Fury games a bit different and defines them. They were trying to do something different. It's a punkin' MC Hammerpants. Well, the character designs might not have not have been that original, but yeah, there's good background detail on these. There's lots of animation. See the train going on. I really should have learnt the controls before trying to play it though. Duck King is not messing about here. Notice the background already says Real Bout in the background, which would be the title of the later games. What is anybody's move in this game? I know 0 moves. This is good. Now, when I had this on the Mega Drive, I would have had a little book where I wrote down all the moves I found and actually knew what I was doing. Yeah, Ultar, the scanline effect is really nice. The CRT filter in general is one of my favourites. I mean, people have expressed their surprise that I use the filter, but it just makes the art on some of these games look how it's meant to look. You know, it's not adding fake pixels, it's just making it look like it would look if it was on a CRT. Obviously these were designed to be played on CRT. They were drawn with the CRT in mind. So close to beating Ducking. You have to do them slowly. Because I know, like, Joe's got his Tornado one. I'm used to doing moves quickly, I think. It's one of those fighting games where, if you've played other fighting games, because it's an early one, the mechanics are going to feel a bit off these days. There we go. Ducking has been beaten for once. Andy moves left 3 seconds and you go right, left. Yeah, they're probably very slow. Yeah. So there you go. It's just different. It's special moves before they'd really been standardised, which again probably means this wasn't 100% influenced by Street Fighter 2. It's probably developed on its own in some ways. No, you can just spam back 4-day. Let's try spamming back 4-day then and see where we get. Oop. Well, I can't do that now. I picked the wrong character.
Round 1.
The rounds seem very quick in this as well. You know, the actual difficulty every move does is quite high. So... I almost did the power wave. But yeah, so yeah, I don't remember exactly what was different on the Mega Drive version. I guess it was cut down, but I did enjoy it at the time. So I do have Power Wave. There you go, I'll spam that attack instead. But yeah, so for an early fighter, this one is one of my favourites, I think. I've not played it in a long time, so what I knew of it back in the day I've forgotten entirely, but there's just something about it that I always find appealing. Maybe because it was clearly trying to do its own things. Huh. Okay. Oh. Not giving me a chance this time. Can't do it at the back lane, can you? No. Don't think I can. Does not want to be power wave to death this time. No. So, let's reset, because I think we can see a different stage if we just start again, can't we? So yeah, I can choose the Howard of Reason. So we can get to see a bit of a different stage to start with. There you go. This feels like a very Street Fighter 2 design stage, to be honest. I don't know what your moves are. Yeah, there we go, it's on there. He doesn't want me to spam attacks now. Or maybe I'm just too slow at spamming. But this also makes use of the Neo-Geo zooming, I believe, for the front and back planes. I think the sprites are slightly zoomed down at the back, but I could be wrong. They might have just redrawn them, but I think it uses the zoom. And again, I always like weather effects in games, and this might just be drawing a load of horizontal lines down the screen that aren't even transparent, but it adds atmosphere to the levels. And you know, it's one of when I've said before that I really like Turbo Outrun. One of the reasons is I just love the weather effects on it. And it must be very wet at this point. I wish we had some of this refreshing rain here. Might help with the warmth we've got today. But yeah, a bit of lightning as well. There you go. Anyway, that was a bit of Fatal Fury. And like most fighting games, I'm not very good at Fatal Fury, but it doesn't stop me enjoying it. Let's go with a good old classic Shock Troopers, 1997 by Saurus. The world is turning animalistic. Possibly. Although maybe he's ducking because he just likes ducking. Who knows? Maybe his favourite move is to duck under every attack. I remember for the longest time back in the day, that title screen sound effect was emulated completely incorrectly. And it just made a really loud and pleasant screech. But that was like back in the day. A bit loud this one, sure. So this is one of your run-along commando style shooters. And you move your character by operating the joystick, you fire using A. And you see, it pouts. And if the buttons are depressed, your depressed button, the control button is depressed because it's next to the Windows key. Anyway, those are the rest of the controls. I should have worn my camo shorts, and I could have matched this to the screen. I could be Milky, Loki, Southern Cross, Big Mama. Let's be Big Mama. Again, nice use of the zoom effects. I've not turned the blood on, have I? Haven't I? It doesn't matter. But yeah, this is one of my favourite Commando style games, or Ikari Warrior style games. Because I guess you have to say Ikari Warrior style games, even though SNK didn't develop this. SNK did have Ikari Warriors, whereas Commando was obviously Capcom, and we're talking about an SNK platform here. I think most people would also agree that, you know, the Shock Troopers games are some of the best on the NeoGeo too. Well, at least the first one. The second one's kind of ugly pre-rendered nonsense with far too much slowdown. The first one is a classic, yes. Could really do with some heavy machine gun speech like Metal Slug there though. And obviously you might also say Mercs, which was Capcom's follow-up to Commando. But you know the genre. This is a genre in its own right. Now, I've seen people one credit clear this before. Needless to say, I will not be one credit clearing it. I might be 100 credit clearing it, if that's a thing. Carefully rolling into the bullets. Yeah, Shock Troopers is Stephen. Which version of Shock Troopers? This one or the clone, which I'll look at in a bit? So they are a little bit different. Maybe my just one credit stream, but I'll probably get through the entire MAME library in the 3 hours, Bob. That's the problem. You'll probably have seen every game in MAME in 3 hours if I do a one credit stream. This is Big Mama mode. So that's probably the idea. I think this is actually meant to be the female character. Yes, the ogre. I do feel. I mean, AI is only running on a weak 68K processor. You do have to feel sorry for it sometimes. I mean, considering the power of our brains compared to a weak 68K processor, you do have to sometimes just humour it by rolling into the bullets, like all the time, because it might be more alive than we ever realise. And if I ever find that out, I won't feel too bad about, you know, all the times I've helped it out by rolling into the bullets and walking into explosions. Of course, we can use the explosions if you want to. Bazooka. Look, it's flashing red. It must be quite warm, just like me. So yeah. There we go. Stage 1 clear. You missed the last 5 minutes and thought it was a dude. Yes, this is correct, Zontar. Why did I close the game? I wasn't trying to close the game. Never mind. Restart the game. Right. So we can go team battle, and then we can pick Maribi, Rio, and Mario. Let's go the valley route. So in this mode, you can swap between the characters. So you've got 3 characters, you press the D button and you swap between them, which is an official feature in the game if you select Team Battle. Just in case you can't pick between one favourite character. Now, I do like the way this lets you pick any one of 3 levels to start with, because that means even if you're not good at a game, you can see more of the levels. And also, I think it means, in an arcade game, if you get that choice at the start, you're more likely to play the game again, even if you've played it once before and just select a different level. Even if you're only playing like 1 credit every time you play it, come back on a different day, you might select another level just so you get another experience. So it probably encourages people to play the game again. Sorry, I read moo and thought you were talking about cow again, Bob. Cow goes moo. I don't know if that applies to cow. So clearly that is the only thing I can think of when you say moo. The chapters of Hydra devolve into something. A nice bit of chaos here. So anyway, this has been the parent set of Shock Troopers. Now, this is one of those cases where the clone is quite interesting. So let's load the clone. Let's load Shock Troopers Set 2. I believe in this mode it's basically the same. I know in one of the modes the health bars work differently in set 2. Oh, you've got Metal Slug Cart. Proper one with all the protection chips. Well, the protection chip. So yeah, hold on. Let me just reset this. What was the difference? I think it might be team battle mode. I can't remember the difference. There's a difference in how the health works, I believe. Hold on, let me just see if I can remember. Or find out. I think it's something to do with the health bars. Anybody remember in the chat? And I thought the characters had separate. Okay. Right. Yeah, so the health system in both games have, yes, they've got different health systems. And in team mode they have separate life bars. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. So yeah, if you play the team version, the team mode, which is what I'm doing now, and you swap between characters. No, what? Maybe this is the one where they share a health bar. I'm not sure. Anyway, they have different health bar behaviours in the two different versions, and you get extra health. You start with different amounts of health. The two versions are quite different. Once you notice the differences. Anyway, so I've probably not done the best job of showing this off, but if you play this in your own time, you'll notice that. I mean, if you notice, let me just start this. So you notice if I play this version, I don't start with full health. That's one of the differences. The way your health works is different in the two versions. This has got this star system. I just couldn't remember which set was which. But you lose less health, I think, in this version as in the other version. So it balances out, but it does play differently. So if you only played one of the games, one version, it is worth trying the other version. I used to know the difference better like about 5 years ago, but it's been a long time since I played it. Yeah, that version is also in MAME because it was also on cartridges on its own and stuff. I think it's got messed up level order as well. It starts you on the wrong level, like a lot of those bootlegs did. So let me just go back to the other Shock Troopers set now for a second. And see if this is... So if I start now with this character, you'll see I start with full health. Yeah. But I lose more health. But one attack I'm down far more health. I lose about a third of the health bar. So you get more health at the start, but you lose more health in this set, the parent set. And in the team battle mode, Yeah, you see, I lose health. But I swap out the characters, and each character has individual health. So those are the differences. In the parent set, for the team battle mode, every player's got their own health. In the clone set, the players share a health bar. That type of thing. So, yep. Alright, mister. Well, if it does, then feel free to submit it. It's always good to find differences. So, yeah. If you've not studied the differences between the Shock Trooper sets, though, yeah, let's put the clone set back on. This is going to confuse the Ogre's listing of Shock Troopers because I'm switching between the sets, but I apologise. So here, this is the version with the shared health bar. The second set has the shared health bar. And the star system for lives. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah, in that case it sounds like it's a different vision, mister. So it would be worth submitting. Even if it's like, even if it might be an unofficial modification, it's probably still worth it. So I don't know which of these sets is the easiest. I mean, my gut feeling is the clone set's probably easier because you lose health less quickly. But then on the team mode you do have to share the health bar, so I don't know. I'm glad to hear it, mister. I mean, it always helps. There are probably so many undumped revisions of games because people just haven't checked their boards. Or bad dumps that nobody's realised are bad dumps because people haven't checked their boards. It can be surprising. And sometimes it was just you know, arcade operators making modifications to disable watchdog behaviour and things like that, or change it, or coin lockout behaviour. Quite common, I think, with the Nova 2001 is to find boards where the code modified so that the fake coin detection routine is taken out, because the fake coin routine detection that was oversensitive. Sometimes it would reset on legitimate coins if they fell just the wrong way or got slightly stuck for just a moment, and players didn't want the game resetting in the middle of a game, so it was quite common to see boards with that unofficially hacked out. So even things like that are interesting to see. And we see with a lot of Spanish sets as well, because the currency and common coin settings were different there. You get a lot of games with modified settings for Spain in the ROM, done by the operators themselves or some distributor. There's a monkey. Should we look at the screen sometime? Those are very big bombs you're throwing. I don't know which pocket they're being kept in. The secret Windjammers mode. Windjammers. I should play Windjammers, shouldn't I? In fact, shall I switch to Windjammers now? Yeah, why not? Why not switch to Windjammers? Windjammers is a good game. Not the other Windjammers that is clearly nothing to do with Windjammers. There's a gambling game called Windjammers. It's just to do with the boat. There you go. So, flying disc game Windjammers. Now again, this is one of the best Neo-Geo games, which might surprise a lot of people, but It's just a simple sports game, but it's really over the top. And over the top sports games are the best. Use the A joystick to move. Play against the computer. Very dated sports game presentation as well, I have to say. I'm going to be BU because it's BU. And you can only be you. Called the Windjammer. Yeah, it's based on the ship, isn't it, Mick? Just like the other game, the gambling game called Windjammer.
Round 1.
So this is sort of a Pong type game at heart, but over the top. You're diving around to collect the ball, and then you try, or the disc in this case, then trying to score points with it. You know, you have charge attacks, and then they'll do that. Now, I hear there was a recent sequel to this. This is not how you play the game. I'm just warming up. Helps if you actually dive towards the ball, the disc there. And your power attacks are more difficult to stop. Yeah, I think ToeJam and Earl would have liked this game, wouldn't they, Bob? If they come to Earth and found everybody playing Windjammers, I think they would have found it a much more likeable, enjoyable place. It's a unique sports game that actually works, and that's kind of rare. Yeah, if you don't catch it in those cases, you lose some points. Coming to a Neo Retro Esports Classic. Yeah, this is a retro esports classic. It's a mix of all sorts of things. I did get the reference, Baby Bob. I do have a ToeJam and Earl t-shirt somewhere. I think I've worn it on stream before, actually. I should play ToeJam and Earl on stream as well, but again, two-player game, and it's kind of dull with one player. Closest thing was depicting Trump. Climb up. Now you notice I'm not really going to play many fighters on this stream because I think the strength of the Neo-Geo is not actually the fighters, even though everybody thinks about the fighters. It's the other games that really make the system shine. I don't know. I think it's a fairly easy reference. Well, apparently I'm not going to be BU anymore. I'm going to be H-meter. ToeJam, we need more ToeJam and Earl games, or ToeJam and Earl in more games. I'm not sure. Maybe we need a Sega versus Capcom with ToeJam and Earl as fighters. I'm getting beaten quite bad. I tend to like some of the obscure ones these days. I always like Ninja Masters. I even like Karnal's Revenge, but I do like, Fighter's History. I think that's an underrated game, personally. But Waku Waku 7, obviously, is one that stands out. That was silly. Yeah, Money Puzzle Exchange is a good one. I have played Money Puzzle Exchange on a different stream. But again, that stands out as having different mechanics. It is a bit of a mix of, say, Magical Drop and that Muja game. I mean, yeah, it did have that strength to it as well, the AES ones, but they weren't really affordable for most people. In fact, I think it'd probably been better off just getting an Envious. Even back then, the AES prices were always inflated. Yeah, I mean, I noticed on the PS5 a lot of stuff is really impressive in terms of the lack of loading times. This game's all about your reactions, so you really have to pay attention. Three points. 3 points. Reactions. Yeah, I guess the supplies are still pretty bad, aren't they? Hey Rockman, thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, as always. Rockman is the one who purchased the plug and play I just did a video on, the Kids Next Door one. So if you want to thank Rockman in the chat for that, that would always be appreciated, because it's always good when somebody puts their own money forward to buy things, especially when they're things like plug and play games that a lot of people would just not really care about that much. And it was a rare one, and we were quite lucky to get it for the price we did. So yeah, Windjammers is going quite badly for me. But we'll continue, I think, because we're not on the 2-hour mark of the stream yet, so... You played Windjammers in tournaments. I guess you did a bit better than I'm doing now, but yeah, it is very much a tournament game. It's a test of real skill and reactions, and my skill and reactions are clearly not as good as they used to be. I did used to be able to clear this game, but that was when that was back in the late 90s when it was first emulated. And I had a strategy and didn't have as much else to do. I think that's the thing. Back then, there was less to do, so I ended up practicing the games more as well. And this was one I played a lot of then. That was a lucky 5 points. He does indeed, Rockman. Okay, you can do that as well. You can toss it off your special attack. No, that was not what I wanted to happen. Time up.
Get ready.
First 5 in ages, yes. Why do I keep throwing them? That's not a good strategy. Uh-oh. Okay. I don't even remember how I used to be good at this game. Clearly not by doing this.
Set.
It speaks Italian in the game. I didn't realise it was speaking Italian. Yeah, it's very easy for everything to get lost. So let's just give it one more try. And after this credit, I'll be moving on. Yes, Bob.
Round 2.
Yeah, I was using the Italian character, so that would make sense if it was in Italian. Yeah.
Set. Get ready.
I'm still only on the second match. That's quite bad. Okay, I actually completed it with a draw.
Next round.
Yeah. Get bonus round. Dog distance. Oh dear, I walked on somebody. There we go. Does it also speak dog? It sounded like it was speaking dog. One of the songs on those juice box cartridges we got is Who Let the Dogs Out. So if you ever want to watch Who Let the Dogs Out in terrible 240 by 180 encoding at 6 frames a second, while requiring a 4 GHz PC to run it in MAME, then you can always play that in the next MAME release, probably, if I submit it in time. Although Sean is having a lot of problems dumping those things. I don't know if it's the carts that have all gone bad or there's something seriously wrong with the dumping setup, but he's dumped loads of flash ROMs before and never had this kind of problem with them. But we did get 24 cartridges for like $30, so maybe they were known faulty cartridges somebody was selling off, who knows. We got some good dumps in them though. We'll find out more as time goes by. The dumping issues, some of them are quite odd though, like drop bytes in the middle of the lock streams.
Get ready.
Anyway, Windjammers, good fun game, one of my favourites on the NeoGeo. I probably shouldn't play it too much because otherwise I'll be playing it for a long, long time. Now I'm going to go back to the NeoGeo Pocket Color now, because you know we're keeping it in the NeoGeo family. I'm going to have a look at the NeoGeo Pocket Color version, a very well loved game. I do like this boot up Lego than PS2. Sorry, let me just window it. You're going to build a gaming PC with just about full speed. Right, so Neo-Turf Master is obviously one of the most popular of the MVS games and even Neo-CD games. And so it's always interesting to see what the official ports were. And it's got the characters here, the ones you're all used to seeing, with their own style to them for this the pocket colour version. Your coursers. Now it doesn't have any speech, unfortunately, so your favourite quotes, on the green and all that are missing. But other than that, you have. Let's hook it that way a little bit. That's a bad shot. Auto hazard. Out of bounds. Now this music always reminds me more of music from a Sonic game. I always think I'm playing Sonic whenever I play this. Nice shot. No pork chop, no. Code Mystics is an interesting one. They did those really bad Jack-specific TV touch things. And also, I think the Space Invaders plug and play for Jax, which is a bit of an abomination in the sense that it's got Bubble Bobble on, but it's one player only. And you don't put Bubble Bobble on a plug and play that only supports one player. You can't even complete Bubble Bobble properly with one player. And that's another one of the emulation-based ones that's not dumped yet. Yeah, it's very Starlight Zone, isn't it, Bob? That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, it does have very, very weedy sound. Also, I don't like the fact it restarts the tune every time you're taking a shot. But yeah, the sound is probably one of the weaker parts of the Neo Geo Pocket, unfortunately. Now, if you watched the plug and play videos I've done, you'll have realised there are a lot of knockoffs of Neo Turf Masters in them, which just outright steal the graphics from the arcade version. So it's interesting to see that with the official handheld release, portable release, they didn't do that at all. It's not tried to use the graphics from the arcade version. They've redrawn them in their own style that suits the Pocket a bit better, which I think is what I like about it. And it plays, as you'd expect a handheld golf game to play, with the overhead view. So we can go for maximum power again. Yeah, it does have quite a Game Gear feel to it, John. I agree. So maybe why... I'd say Sonic didn't really feel at home on the system, but in some senses it does. Let's get near the flag. Oh, that's probably a good place to land, isn't it? Yeah, it's very Starlight. I don't know why. But it just restarts it every time you've got to take another shot. You never actually get to hear the whole thing. Well, it would have been too easy just to put the regular Neo Turf Masters on, so that's why I went with this one. Make a bit of a change. And make it probably make it a bit too much. Okay, I slightly overcompensated. But the wind is against me, so I probably have to. I'm not sure. Yeah, that actually surprises me because I thought there were various copyright issues with the Sonic 3 music due to the whole Michael Jackson thing. So the fact they used Sonic 3's music as a basis of the Pocket Adventure one, which I did play earlier, by the way, it just surprised me because even in some of the official Sonic 3 re-releases, Sega have avoided the music that Sonic 3 had, and obviously that prototype turned up fairly recently with different music. Yes, Custado. Possibly a little bit. I don't believe there's any cartoon club here, though, so we should be alright. Hmm. Ah, right. Okay, Rockman. Yeah, it might be that there's certain tracks they can use and certain tracks they can't use. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it's all a bit of a mystery, isn't it? I think I've overhit this one. I didn't read the... Oh no, apparently I've not overhit it. That surprised me. I thought I used too much power there. I didn't use enough. I managed to hit a flag. I mean, you know, what are the odds? I hit the flag again. I don't know what. I mean, they probably will be the update. There we go. It's gone in the hole. Yep, I've been hitting poles. Maybe there was a cow stood in the hole with one leg there, and I was hitting a cow. So I think it'd be a bit hard to hit a flag on its own. I don't really know, Mick. I mean, there's lots of speculation about it, but for whatever reason, I think that's all there is. There's lots of speculation about it. I don't think anybody's ever actually confirmed 100% what the story is. Yeah, apparently he was involved in some of the songs in some of the tunes in Sonic 3, but it's all a bit of a mess. And even if he wasn't, I think Sega would be quite happy to have you believe he was at this point. Oh, I'm on the rough, aren't I? Anyway, yeah. So yeah, that was the Turf Masters for the Neo Geo Pocket. I think we've seen that. I've not played any black and white Neo Geo Pocket games yet, but no, not necessarily yet. Right, so let's go back to the Neo CD. And one that maybe not everybody's fired up. This is ADK World for the Neo CD, which is one of the things that was not released outside of the Neo CD, which kind of makes sense because it's a collection of fan stuff, fan service basically. But there's an odd little game inside here too, which we'll have a look at. Sega did confirm, did they, Rockman? I didn't know it. I thought it had never been officially confirmed. Okay, I'm a bit behind the times then. I thought it was still speculation, Rockman. So there's various things in here, but the one we're going to look at is this 19YY. Not 19XX, the Capcom game, but 19YY. Which is clearly a parody of the Capcom games, but in the terms of that logo there. But the game itself... Yeah, dreams come true. I've heard that about Sonic 1. And that being the reason that Sonic Spinball had to change the music because they didn't actually have the rights to the music for Sonic Spinball, even though it's clearly the well-known Sonic music. There's there's some Dreams Come True tracks in the Ikawa stuff that was dumped as well, although I don't think any of them are the Sonic tunes. So 19YY. They've settled, have they? So it might be over. So this is a mini shooter with characters from World Heroes. So obviously this isn't a full game or an especially complex shooter, but it's a nice little sort of bonus thing. It's maybe one of the slightly hidden things for the NeoGeo because it's only on the CD thing. Bit of a steampunk theme going on here with this. But, I guess the closest you ever got to this as a full game was something like KOF Sky Stage, a shoot 'em up with SNK characters, which doesn't win in MAME because it's PC hardware. Yeah, this is just a little bonus thing in ADK World on the Neo CD, Stephen. Most of what's in ADK World is just like profiles, character pictures, background information on other ADK games. But there's this little bonus game in there, which is fun for a while. It doesn't do anything fancy, but if you wanted a quick shooter, it exists. That was a very good oh no. I'm surprised nobody's actually just turned this into a NeoGeo cartridge. Just this game. Or maybe they have. I don't know. I don't tend to follow NeoGeo homebrew that much. It tends to disappoint me. Like, I saw somebody's created a homebrew version of what was one of the prototypes, Eye of the Typhoon, which is always a bad idea because, you know, it's going to make it much more difficult to find a real Eye of the Typhoon if there's one out there, because the market's going to end up flooded with reproduction carts of the homebrew. And people are going to sell the homebrew as a prototype, which already happened with things like Zintrick, where that was a hack that got put on cartridge and people started selling it as the prototype. And Cross Swords too. It's never really a good idea. Yes, Rockman, that's I mean, that wasn't even called Aggressors of Dark Combat outside of... That was in Japan. That was something beginning with G in Japan, wasn't it? But yeah. Aggressors of Dark Combat's one I might play, actually, because that's one that I kind of think stands out in the library. There you go, you see, it's a simple shooter, I think it's just a single stage. So, nothing much to see. And like I say, the rest of... They've got a NeoGeo quiz in here, which obviously is in Japanese. So, you can play Neo Quiz. But this is not so playable because you need to know Japanese. But in general, yeah, this collection is more designed for Japanese audience. I mean... Anyway, that was that. There's nothing really else to show for that one. So that's a quick one. I just wanted to show the little shooter that was in there because, again, I think it probably gets overlooked because it's hidden away in a Japanese collection of other stuff for the Neo CD and didn't get released out on the MVS or AES. Right, which game shall we play next? Let's go with Aggressors of Dark Combat, because yeah, like I said, this kind of feels to me like it's almost a sequel to Street Smart, which was an older SNK game. I don't know if it officially is, but it feels very similar. Let's do the traditional thing of sliding the overscan area off. ADK. This is one of ADK's better games. ADK's quality, at least the Alpha Denshi ADK stuff, tends to be a bit rough. You look like Ninja Commando, Ninja Combat, they're really not great. This one's got a bit more going for it. Yes, Aggressors of Dark Combat, ADK. Let's put a coin in and play it. I've not changed the keys. A is hit A button slightly light punch. Hard punch. Like it. Hard. So you can do reversals. On 3 credits, Rockman. Not even going for a 1 credit clear there. But again, you've got the fighting. You've got free movement around the place. I guess you could also say that this is like Pit Fighter, but done right. At least done a lot better than Pit Fighter was. Not that it's difficult to do Pit Fighter, but better than Pit Fighter. But yeah, in terms of Neo-Geo games, this is probably the closest you've got to something like Pit Fighter. And you've got your weapons. Yeah, don't do your hair in the middle of the fight. That's always a bad idea. Oh, I couldn't smash the bottle. Very resilient bottle though. It fell out my hands, flew across the ground, and still was in one piece. Pit Fighter was not a great game, no. I can't remember how to play this game, unfortunately, as you can probably tell. Oh, I made some fire with the Molotov. I'm crying. I'm stuck in the corner. Okay, this is me losing. What's wrong with Pit Fight? It's just those cars. They just look so out of place for a starter. That's the only thing wrong with Pit Fighter. You've never seen a guy like this. It's over. Well, let's go for broke. Let's actually change the keys. I should really change all the keys by default, but I always forget. Let's be... I don't know who I'm being. Let's be somebody because I run out of time. This stage is very like the Super Street Fighter 2 stage, the first one you usually get. Yeah, in terms of pace, this is quite a slow paced game. That is one thing to keep in mind when playing it. more like a wrestling game, really, I'd say. And also, you know, if you're holding directions to do your moves, like if I hold up an attack, it does a different move than down an attack. So you've got your leg sweeps on down. If you want to see Pit Fighter done worse, just play Solitary Fighter though. That one was even worse than Pit Fighter. Yeah, the Fei Long stage, main fan. This is very similar in presentation. Don't know which came first, actually. Or if it's just based on some other thing in the first place. Maybe it's a famous movie scene. I think I'm going to have to put this down at a level. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere otherwise. English or Spanish? English will do. Yeah, it's a slower paced version, I'd say. This is the thing that's getting me. I'm trying to play it too fast, I think. But yeah, it's one of the more interesting Neo-Geo titles because there aren't any other Neo-Geo titles that are like this, unless you count like 3 Count Bout as a wrestling game. But 3 Count Bout I never really got on with at all. Do a diving attack like that. Don't slap me. There we go. Is that a fuming puma? I don't know. Where are you looking, Bob? oh, you've replied to Rockman. It's turned into Street Hoops. I should play Street Hoops next winter. Even though Street Hoops is kind of interesting because it's the prequel to some of the Data East MLC games, which I should look up on another stream. The Hoops series, Hoops 95, Hoops 96. Or Hoops. Because I believe Street Hoop is from 93 and those are from 94, 95, 96. And apparently you also support multi-screen on the original hardware. I don't know how to do these moves when I want to do them. Yeah, it does have a lot of health bars, doesn't it, John? I don't know why they took that approach, or if it has an effect on the gameplay in any way, but yes. And you only have to defeat each character once at least with the 4 health bars, so it kind of balances out that way, otherwise the rounds would just go on forever. I'm not going to do any throws of my own yet. Grabbing the characters is more difficult than you might think. Possibly. I mean, I quite like Fighter's History, John. I think Fighter's History is more original than people give it credit for. And Fighter's History's got that whole character armor thing going on. It's got creative characters. You're fighting against a clown towards the end, and other things. It's a better game than it gets credit for, Fighter's History. Oh dear. I appear to have broken a bone. And to think, the Samurai Showdown 5 special had to get censored because of the X-ray pictures, and there you have a visualization of me breaking a bone right here in an older game. Yeah. And just say, Data East clearly cared about Fighter's History because they went through a load of revisions fixing bugs. It wasn't a throwaway project, it was one they wanted to do a good job of, and I think they did. But just people remember Street Fighter 2. Because Street Fighter 2 was everywhere. Street Fighter 2 was even places Capcom didn't want it to be because of the number of bootlegs. But I happen to think that maybe if Street Fighter 2 hadn't been as heavily bootlegged as it was, it might not have been so successful. But the fact it was bootlegged so heavily and was absolutely everywhere, you couldn't avoid Street Fighter 2, probably actually worked in its favour. I think Street Fighter's History was produced in great numbers. It doesn't seem to be an uncommon PCB. It's a bit like Gauss Panic 2, you can always find a PCB of it if you want one. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not good if they're losing sales to the pirate copies, but from what I've heard, you know, Capcom couldn't keep up with the demand, so the pirate copies were, you know, putting the game in places that even Capcom couldn't put the game. Yeah, it lost a couple of buttons on the Neo. 4 buttons versus 6, wasn't it? I still think the Neo-Geo one's okay. I didn't like the Neo one at first when I first played it. I thought it was one of the weaker Neo-Geo titles, but it's one I kind of grew to like in the end. But yeah, Aggressors of Dark Combat, in this case, is one of the more original Neo-Geo games. Slower paced fighter. You're meant to take your time playing it, not try and button mash it, which is one of the reasons I kind of failed with it. Right, let's have a look at one of the ones I'm not too keen on. Now this is Bang Bang Busters, and now this is a Visco game from, well, it was going to be released in 2000. It was originally from, I think, about much earlier, you know, about 94 or something. Eventually it got released, the 2000 version, in 2010 by NCI. But yeah, this was one that was shelved several times until it was acquired and, you know, released much later. Was it worth releasing much later? We'll see. But in fact, this might have been. This is originally an early game, so 2000 is not the real date. This is, say, from the 90s, really. A bit like Zoopapap, which was originally from the 90s, then got updated and actually released. Yeah. I mean, you look at it now and you look at the early adopters of ARM like that, and you look at what ARM's doing today. And evening, Manic Panic. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining. Also, evening to everybody who have not said evening to, because I've not been paying enough attention to the chat. But even just looking now, I can see like this Carlo here. So welcome, Carlo. And I can see there's Ray Ross here, who I've not said hi to. So hey, Ray Ross. And hey, Johnny Bond. I've replied to your comment and didn't even realise that you were somebody I hadn't said hi to yet. So I hope I've not missed anybody. Also, when I'm doing these streams, if there's anybody new joins the chat, can you make sure to say hi to them? Because sometimes I'll be not paying attention. And I don't want to seem rude to people that are joining, because I do really appreciate everybody being here. It's just like if I'm looking at the screen, I miss the chat, and then there's loads to scroll back up to. Anyway. So, you can be a boy or a girl. The boy looks very sad. I'll be the sad character. Search and attack. So you can already see this has kind of got a Diet Go-Go feel to it with the inflated enemies. It's an important skill, that one, the rotating skill. And you can use them to fly. Can you do it all? Well, maybe. Hey, Carlo. Neo Mr. Do is really creepy. As is the Mrs. Do in Neo Mr. Do. It's a... Universal really got that art style wrong. So the annoying thing about this is the rotation skill. You have to time it just right. And it rotates quickly. And I don't know how you ever meant to time it. So, it requires you to release the button at exactly the right time. If it had an aiming arrow like Puzzle Bobble and rotated a bit more slowly, maybe. But it feels too much like luck. Let's get Evil Santa Claus. That's a very creepy Santa Claus as well. Now, as it said, you can use enemies to fly. You can also dash with them and throw them if you want to. Good night, Custado. Take care. This is also a good point, Bob. If everybody's saying hi in the chat, I'm more likely to miss something because the chat gets scrolled off the screen. But then if I see everybody saying hi in the chat, I might see everybody saying hi in the chat. This is one of those things, isn't it? But yeah, if the choice was between this and Zoopapa getting released, I can see why Zoopapa got released and this didn't, because Zoopapa is one of the best Neo-Geo games. This is a really clunky 90s single screen platformer that is nowhere near as good, and it has creepy Santa Clauses. And this feels like an early IGS game to me. Some of the animation, the way everything seems to move vertically in chunks rather than smoothly. It's difficult to put my finger on it, but it just doesn't feel right. I mean, I do love a single screen platformer, but yeah, I would have probably put a credit in this one credit back in this back in the day, and not bothered with any more. It's very underwhelming, this one. This one especially though. This I don't know. Also, that flower thing. Pinata, or whatever it is. That happens on Puzzly too, I think. Maybe that's what's making me think of IGS as well. I think I got licked by a dog ship. So if dogs could build spacecrafts that licked you, this is what they would look... Again, you meant to throw them at the thing, and... This requires aiming these things. Which is not a fun mechanic. I mean, if you can get used to the aiming mechanic, then maybe Stephen, but... You have to try releasing that at exactly the right time. It's frustrating to me. There are lots of single screen platformers I'd rather play over this one. By all means, give it a shot. See what you think of it, because you know, enjoyment of any game is an entirely subjective thing. There are games that I really hate that other people love. To me, this just doesn't feel right. ship is dig-dugging me. Yes, it is. I mean, to be fair, we're lucky that NCI did re-release this one, and it is the proper version of the game. It's the one that was going to be released and then didn't get released. And given how hard Neo-Geo prototypes are to come by, I don't think we're going to see any of the other undumped ones, you know, the major ones people talk about, at any point ever. I think we can consider them lost, because the people with them really have no interest in ever sharing them. But we're lucky to have it. But yeah, it is one of those I can just see why it didn't get released. Visually, it's got some appeal to it. It's not perfect, but the backgrounds and platforms are well drawn. The inflatable enemies are kind of cute, but again, Diet Go-Go did that better. But yeah, I put this one on because it is one that maybe has been overlooked, because it's a more recent jump. If you know, well, from about probably 5, 6, 7 years ago now. But maybe even longer than that. I don't know. Maybe it was dumped as soon as it was released. I can't remember. Time passes more quickly than you realise. However, yeah, and you know, it's one that if you only played Neo Geo games on Neo Rage X back in the day, when there were still Neo Geo games being released, new ones, you might not have seen this one because it's, you know, it's only become available more recently. It might work better with a joystick, yeah. It might be that slight lag you get on modern screens. It's throwing the aiming off as well. I mean, that could be absolutely key to this game for all I know. Because the rotation goes so quickly that, you know, any frame delay is going to feel a little wrong. But clearly, if it got rejected for release twice, even back in the day, it can't have location tested well. You know, it's quite bad when you've got a game that fails to location test well in the 90s, and then they try again later and it still doesn't. And I don't know if there's any changes between this version and the original version from the 90s. You can get quite a bit slowdown in cases like this, which isn't great. And look at the animation on the swinging ball on the chain there. Again, it's very roughly animated. I mean, what's the excuse for that? Hey, Master Ninja, thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. You don't really fire the enemies at other enemies in Bubble Bobble, though, do you? You just incapacitate them and then you can pop them all together. I mean, Snow Brothers is definitely one of the early ones with that mechanic, which is why it got copied so often. Anyway, let's not play too much more of this one, because we are on 2.5 hours, so it's probably time to move forward a little bit. Right, so the next one, I am cheating a little bit. This is Hammer by Andamiro on Midas hardware, which is a 68K at 14 MHz. Why am I playing this? Because the Midas hardware, despite having a completely different sound system, clones the NeoGeo video hardware. These Midas hardware games have basically a clone NeoGeo chipset that draws higher color tiles. It's just like 8 bits per pixel tile, so 256 color tiles. But yeah, they clone the NeoGeo hardware for these things. I don't think SNK were involved in any way, but yeah. In fact, this shares the NeoGeo video hardware emulation with a few little mods to handle the higher color mode. So I consider this NeoGeo related and eligible for this, even if this is a just NeoGeo family stream. You heard there was a hot motorcycle game on the Neo Geo, did you? Can you remember what it was called? Oh, Riding Hero it was called. I might have to have a look at that one. Never heard of it, Ken. Is it as good as Final Lap? So this is basically just a redemption game. You play it, you get a prize. And then you get the end credits. And this is a very silly game because you can actually set it in the service mode so that you get 0 games. So as soon as you coin it up, you get the end credits. Is it service mode or is it dip switches? It's service mode, isn't it? So you can change your coins per credit. So 1 round to prize. You can actually set this to 0 rounds to prize and save. This is a redemption game that's a bit like Point Blank. You basically play a game and you get a prize. So I've set it in service mode to 0 games before you get the prize. Let's coin it up. Let's press start. You get your prize. And then you get the end credits. You can actually turn off the game, basically, which is very silly. So let's not do that. Let's set it 4 rounds. Now I'm not going to spend too long on this because technically I am cheating a little bit here. This is a NeoGeo clone rather than the actual real NeoGeo. I suppose somebody, if they really wanted, could downgrade the graphics to regular NeoGeo hardware capabilities. I don't know how you do light gun on NeoGeo, but it's just interesting to me to see an actual hardware clone of the NeoGeo from back in the day, or from like the early 2000s, which was enhanced. So technically, you could probably port a NeoGeo game to this hardware and improve the graphics a bit if you really wanted to. Little known fact, Riding Hero was originally Final Lap Riding Hero. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Is that today's fact? Alternate fact, other than it being Liam Neeson's birthday? Also, you can shoot everything. Look, I'm destroying the cakes and the grapes. I don't think you meant to do this, but you know. Oh look, you can't kill anymore. You can't destroy the cake anymore. That is as destroyed as a cake can get. Anyway, this was hammer. I think for the original, actually, this would have had a hammer you hit the screen with, as opposed to a light gun, because it's called hammer. Yes, there were, Stephen. There's Live Quiz Show, which is a Korean quiz game, and also there was a gambling game or two, a poker game. But the poker game isn't in MAME because the board sold for about $400, and we're not paying $400 for a poker game on cloned hardware, although it's never shown up since. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought I'd put that one on as a curiosity. No need to play it for any longer, really, is there? I think you've seen what it is. Let's go back to this Neo CD. So yeah, it's probably, I think it's a hammer touchscreen, Nick. Actually thinking about it, not a light gun, but it's point blank in the type of game, the mini games. But the idea is you just win prizes. It's not a real game, which is why I'm not spending too long on it. So yeah, for some reason, when Thrash Rally was released on the Neo CD, it ended up being renamed to Rally Chase. Now I don't know why, because Thrash Rally is what everybody knew it knew the arcade as, but yeah, this version ended up being called Rally Chase. It's the same game. Wish for my Korean. Yeah, I think I'd have to enable cheats to get anywhere on Live Quiz Show, assuming it has any cheats. I think it's the Korean version, anyway. I know not Japanese. I don't know. It might be Japanese, but I thought it was Korean. However, I don't know. It's been a while since I've tried to play live quiz show. Now, the one thing that really irritates me about Thrash Rally, or Rally Chase as it is here, is you can't drive at the same angle as the track. It's like the track is always at a certain angle that's slightly off from your car. Like here, you can't drive at the exact angle the track is. You're always going slightly to the left or slightly to the right. And I can't explain just how much that annoys me with this game. It's like your natural desire when you're playing a rally game is to line yourself up with the track. And when you can't line yourself up with the track because you don't have the same angle for your car as the track is at, it stops feeling like a rally and starts feeling like a game that's purposely trying to mess with you. It's almost Desert Bus, you know, you're always going to swerve to the left. Annoying. Now, other than that, it's an enjoyable game, but I don't know why they did that. Adding extra angle to the turning, or not having tracks at an angle other than your cars can turn at, would have made this a so much more enjoyable game. This is not specific to the CD version, this is just the game in general. Funnily enough, this is one of those games that got loads of graphics stolen for those plug and plays too. But they were always used for Road Fighter clones rather than rally games. I don't know why, but you know, they just have straight line races using these graphics. I suppose I could have included some of those plug and plays in this video, but I didn't think about that when I was preparing things. They're kind of Neo-Geo related in the sense they're stealing all the content. But yeah, I mean, it's an enjoyable game. It just has a few flaws. And I put this version on because, you know, I wanted to show the title screen change, the name change. It is Korean. Yeah, I think it's in Catver as a Japanese quiz game, but I thought it was Korean. Catver is not always accurate. I wonder if this game has cows. You can't jump over the barrier. And go splash. Yeah, this is, say, an early game. It runs at a fast pace, which it works in its favour. And it does have fairly good skiddy mechanics. Once you learn the corners, you can take them really well. But if you don't learn the corners, you just crash into them. It's probably the closest to the isometric races, but without being isometric, I'd say. You know, this plays a lot like World Rally without it being isometric. It handles the handling feels similar. Good night, Andrea. Hope you sleep well then. Take care. Good having you here. I'll see you another time. It should really let you fall into the water then. 256 miles per hour. It feels like my speed is restricted by an 8-bit integer, just without having a 0. I'm assuming you can have a speed of 0, which means it isn't an 8-bit integer. Because it must be possible to stop. All cars can stop. This is a fact. Yeah. I've not actually looked at Final Power to see what's wrong with it, Cow. It's not something I've studied yet. RAC, England. This is definitely easier than the arcade version. That much is clear. I guess because it doesn't have to take your credits all the time. The lack of cows in England is disappointing me right now. I thought if any state was going to have some cows, it would be England. Not inventing brakes is quite a mistake. Kenny Everett. I don't know. Maybe they're based on real people. I don't really know much about rally racing. Or, I don't know anything about rally racing, to be honest. Your car can go at 255. It could be that, but I don't know. It's quite an odd limit to have for a car otherwise. Right, okay. Now, I talked about fake prototypes or things that are built up to be prototypes that weren't earlier, and that's what we have with this one. This is another NCI release. NCI are the ones that re-released Bang Bang Busters, but they also issued this, which is Treasures of the Caribbean. Now, Treasures of the Caribbean is considered to be a NeoGeo prototype from Face in 1994. And this was kind of put out as if it was the prototype from 1994, but it absolutely isn't. This is a rewrite of the game. This is a homebrew rewrite. And that didn't go down especially well because, again, if you've known for getting unreleased games released, and you've released something like Bang Bang Busters, and then you release a homebrew in the same way, and not a good homebrew either, this doesn't play well at all, then it feels like a bit of a trick. Backfire is an interesting game, mister. I still not sure if the Backfire ROMs are complete, or if the fact that ours came from a bootleg means there's something wrong with them. But it is meant to be a prototype. However, after a certain point in Backfire, you just start getting corrupt backgrounds and everything. And it just seems to be reading areas of the ROM that have nothing in them past the data in the ROM. But that might just be because it was never a finished game. But yeah, what you have here is an utterly generic match the pieces game. Now, maybe the original Treasures of the Caribbean was going to be just a match the pieces game just like this, with no gameplay features of note, or maybe it was going to be something more interesting. But you know, this is what people got when they thought maybe it was going to be a rare prototype being released. They got this homebrew puzzle game, which doesn't really have anything of note going for it. And it's slow as well. It feels laggy, the controls. It's not a good game. Also, this doesn't even have an MVS mode, so this is only in the AES soft list. Nobody even bothered to bootleg this as an MVS cartridge, as far as I know. So it just remains in the AES soft list and the Neo CD soft list, because there was a CD version, but again, it's the same uninspired game. It feels like it wants to be Monster Slider, the SSV hardware game, but without the sliding mechanic. But you've still got the slightly offset pieces. But Monster Slider is a fun game. This is an entirely uninspired puzzle game with no computer AI, just nothing. It feels pointless if you can't get your hands on the original prototype. Why bother to make something like this? Why not just release this as under a different title as its own homebrew game rather than trying to act like it's a lost prototype? Again, I really like drop puzzle games, but they've got to offer something unique, something interesting, something to keep me coming back to, and this doesn't. So yeah, it's a shame because NCI did officially release the Bang Bang Busters. And so expectations were generally higher than what happened here. Yeah, probably to cut costs, like you say. Also, the original audio hardware might be under an epoxy glob, because I think on original Silkworms it is too. So, if the sound stuff was under an epoxy glob, they probably couldn't really clone it, because they couldn't dump it, they couldn't get the stuff off, or in a box, something like that. I seem to remember something like that with original Silkworms. Some of the sound stuff is encased in something. So it's possible the original Backfire was too. I'm not sure. But I kind of like the sprites on this. They're kind of cute. That's about the only thing though. They're nice, cute ghost sprites, but because the game's just not progressing. It's not doing anything to challenge me. It's not throwing new coloured pieces. It's just this. This is it. This is the game, and I don't think you would have wanted to pay good money for this. Not a prototype. So let's just kill myself off. I'm a loser. And the winner is nobody. So the presentation's fine. It's just a terrible game and a fake prototype, which is going to make it impossible to find a real one if one shows up, because it'll just get lost in search results, or people won't realise. as we've seen with other ones, like say the fake Zintric prototype means that they've flooded the market so much. If a real one shows up, you're probably not going to know. So, we have 10 minutes of this stream left. Yeah, it's a homebrew. It's not built using the SNK libraries or anything, Mick. I'm pretty sure it was confirmed who made it too. It was made for NCI to look like it was the face game rather than actually being the face game. So, a classic one now. Well, a well-loved one. I won't say classic, a well-loved one, which may be the last one we play for the stream, unless I squeeze an extra one. This is The Last Blade 2, which is definitely one of the better looking of the NeoGeo games. In fact, you could argue it's the best looking of the NeoGeo games. I mean, Garou, Mark of the Wolves is tough competition, but this just looks so good. Most of them, if you try and take the epoxy off, you destroy the chip because the bond wires and the epoxy and everything else, Bob. You typically can't remove it. This story has not yet ended. Let's quit up. I think blood's probably turned off, but again, I'm not too bothered. So here we go with really good weapon-based fighters. There's a full second intro. Should I have waited for the second intro, Carlo? I might leave the intro on after I've played it a little bit, because I'm not going to do very well on it. But the animation on this is, top quality. All the sprite work's top quality. There's hand-drawn sprites. This has got really good sound effects too. The whole clashing of swords sound effect is really effective. It sounds like two swords are hitting each other. The metallic crack. I just really love the sound design, the music. To me, this is art. This game. I might not be able to play it well. But everything about the game is a work of art. This is one of those points where peak 2D. Graphic design. Stages like this, you've got the ambience rather than music, and it just works really well for the evening time period the game's meant to be set at. You can hear all the insects buzzing around. I don't think you can really fault this one. As far as I know, the series died after this. I don't think there's any other entries in the series. At least none that I'm aware of. It did get ported to the Dreamcast, I believe. At least one of them did. Don't know if it was the first one or the second one. But Dreamcast users didn't seem to like it because it's a 2D game and the Dreamcast is meant to be a modern 3D console, so why is there a 2D game a second could have done it? Of course, I don't think people appreciated just how much memory it takes to do a well animated 2D game. Again, you can't have atmosphere. That's not victory, that's loss. I blame the elephant. Alright, good night, Stephen. Thank you for being here. And again, I'm glad you've seen a few games you've not seen before, like Bang Bang Busters. So if you want to try that one out off stream, let me know what you think of it. Take care, sleep well. This is just me button mashing, by the way, if you can't tell. Or can't hear. I'm sure there's plenty of clicky, clicky, clicky going on. That was a lucky bell. If it had been its fraction to the side, I would have just been crushed by it, but instead it nicely fell right over me. Right, see you later, Stephen. Take care. We'll indeed see you on the next one. This is ending fairly soon anyway. So I have lost in the Last Blade 2. Now, apparently there's a second intro that we need to see, so please put my name. I won't continue. Game is over. So this is your second intro, isn't it? Speed up. That was speed run. So we've got the first intro again. There you go. Those are your intros. Yeah, the production values are ridiculous on that one. Right, let's end things with one of my favourite little puzzle games. One that a lot of people don't like. This is Gururin by Face. So this is an actual Face game from 1994 rather than the fake prototype Treasures of the Caribbean from 1994. So yeah, a lot of people say this shouldn't have been released and it's terrible and it doesn't do the NeoGeo justice at all. But it's a puzzle game. And the key thing with it being a puzzle game is if it's got a creative gameplay element, it's fun. Now apparently Gururin is the sound of turning gears or something like that, which is why there's a plug and play game called Gururin World, which has nothing to do with this. But this is a tile matching game, but where you can rotate the grid between pieces falling to try and put pieces close to where you want them. So 3 in a row, they have to be in a row. That's one of the key things here. If they're not in a row, it doesn't count. Yeah, I love this game too. I mean, it gets really difficult really quickly with the pieces that hold hands. Because once they start holding hands, they're kind of stuck together. You know, best friends forever pieces. And then rotating the maze doesn't, well, the grid doesn't always have the effect you might think unless you've noticed very carefully that they're stuck together. But yeah, sure, the production values here might be quite basic. And yes, you could have probably done this on many other pieces of hardware. It doesn't push the NeoGeo and it's a tiny ROM. But then you can say the same for Puzzle Bobble. Puzzle Bobble is a tiny ROM that doesn't push the NeoGeo and people love Puzzle Bobble. I think the Neo CD version of Puzzle Bobble's even more silly because it doesn't even use CD audio. It's just the NeoGeo version on a CD that loads all in one. But yeah, strategies on this aren't always obvious. You do have to spend a lot of time with the game and learn it, and I'm probably completely out of practice. I can get rid of this, and I can turn that and get rid of that. Get rid of all those. Now, I remember playing this game back in the day, and I actually thought that it was a bug when the pieces didn't drop properly at first, because I never remember them doing the holding hands thing when I played it in the arcades. But I clearly just wasn't good enough at it when I actually played it back then. That was a complete waste on that piece. There's only one in the playfield in the first place. I don't know if we'll actually get that far, because at the moment I'm not making enough good moves to get me anywhere. That's not useful either. Oh, my mistake. Yeah. Onomatopoeia. So, yeah, Gururin World. Because when I saw the plug and play list and I saw Gururin World on it, I thought it was going to be like a plug and play version of this. So I was actually quite disappointed at first when it wasn't, but the actual game is really cool in its own right. It's a little unicycle thing where you actually turn the wheel on it to control the game, which doesn't really work in the MAME context, but if you've got original hardware, it's kind of cool. You love the art on this game. See, a lot of people don't like it because it's too simple for the NeoGeo, Christian, but yeah, I do like it. And I think the backgrounds, these morphing backgrounds, also reminded me a lot of these Sonic special stages, because if you played those, you'll know that the backgrounds morph on that, and I think that was one of the appealing things to me for this game when I first played it. It's not, you know, the backgrounds aren't rotating, but the playfield is rotating, and it's got that Sonic like bonus stage, special stage sort of effect on the graphics in the background. So there's that level of familiarity with it, which I think helped make the game appeal to me in the first place. If the chat's stuck for you, just hit refresh on it. It should be fine. It's still updating in the stream window, so it's probably just a thing with YouTube. This playthrough is going worse than the previous one. I really lack a strategy in this game, especially when I'm talking. That doesn't work in my favour. We don't seem to be, I don't think I'm going to get to the pieces holding hands because I'm just too bad at this game these days. I'm only getting to level 3. Level 3 is not high in this game at all. Oh, I messed that up. Didn't get that one up I wanted. This isn't going to end well. No. Well, I saw the message, Bob, and I read it out. So, Christian, the chat is probably not stuck if you refresh. But anyway, the stream will be ending very shortly because we're over the 3 hours mark now. There was plenty on the list I didn't get to cover. I did want to have a look at Stakes Winner and Samurai Showdown 5 Special, and maybe a few more Neo-Geo Pocket Colour games, Spin Masters, and even the alternate title versions like Last Soldier version of Last Blade. But, you know, we got through a fair number, so I think this made for a good sort of stream between the other streams that I'll be doing soon, because I've not really had time to prepare things like the bootlegs one yet, or the prototypes one yet. I've been trying. I mean, I was fixing up some bootleg emulation in MAME earlier today. I was having a look at the Super Chick drivers and if I could make that run a little bit better, even though we've not got the colour proms. I was looking at the Locomotion bootleg, which is kind of an interesting one that I want to feature. So I've been building up a set of bootlegs and hacks that I want to feature on that stream, but I've been having to improve the emulation of a few of them first, just so that they're worth showing, even if they might not work perfectly. So that takes more doing, which is why that stream wasn't the stream, because originally I'd planned that for the second stream, but time hasn't really allowed it. But anyway, so this stream is ending now, so I'd like to say thank you to everybody who has been in the chat. And you'd localise it as Spinny Wheel. That's probably a good name, yes, Bob. It'd probably be, more people would probably recognise it than Gururin. But yeah, thank you to everybody who's been here. Of course, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Carlo. Thank you, Lord Nightmare, Jonathan. Thank you, Mick, Mr. Ogner, Cow, of course, who is still hoping we get Final Lap fixed, and probably the Final Lap LCD game that I didn't even know existed dumped. Somebody's going to have to find out what text in that now, aren't they? Thank you, Andrea. Thank you to Mass Ninja, who was here a little bit too. Johnny Bond, who's here. Mo, of course. Mo's often here. Costado, who has left us already. Manic Panic, who said hi earlier. There's been plenty of you here. John F. Donnelly. Rockman, who was chatting earlier. Main Fan, who dropped by. Main Fan is always one of the big supporters of the channel, who's really helped out. You know, it was good to see Main Fan come along. And also, yeah, I'd kind of like to do one of the just streams as, just your requests. So at some point, I'm going to have to get a bunch of requests, a bunch of games people would like me to play. And I don't know if people want to drop those on the YouTube comments on Twitter. And if I get enough ideas from other people, I'll probably have a stream where I play those. If I don't, then I might try anyway and see if people come up with suggestions live in the chat. If people are up for that, I don't know. So anyway, I'll catch you all next time. I don't know when the next stream is, but hopefully it won't be too long. So I'll see you all soon. Good night and goodbye, and take care, everybody.